Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our channel. Today, I am very excited. Today, we are interviewing an Olympic medalist. Isn't that so cool? All right, hang on. Be right back. And most important, sail fast. All right, welcome back. First, I want to thank our team, right? We have Julienne, we have Marley, and Robert. We all put together this equipment and these efforts, whether it is the cameras, production, interviewing connections, and the whole thing. All right, so we are all here for an interview. And today, I am so excited because today we have a chance to interview a real Olympic medalist. So we have questions, they have answers, and here she is.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lily.
Hi,
you can
Lily.
call me Julie Zhang or just Lily.
All right. So we know that you started sailing in Hong Kong, right?
Oh,
No, you started sailing in Shanghai.
I started sailing in Shanghai because I'm a Shanghainese. But
Okay.
my very first event, or we call regatta,
I see.
was in Hong Kong, which is the Chinese nationals. And from then on, I started properly my professional sailing career for the next 20 years or so.
Wow. All right. We're going to get to that. So first question. Tell us about you, right? Who are you? Where did you grow up? How did you get into sailing?
I'm Shili Jia, and then I was born in Shanghai in 87. Does that show how old I am now? 33 years old, exactly. Actually, I'm approaching 34. And I was the only child in my family because in China, in the past, we have this policy called one-child policy. So I don't have any sisters or brothers. And then when I was 5 years old, I started to practice swimming every day for 2 hours. And that continued for 5 years until when I was 10, that I had the opportunity to try out sailing. At the moment I tried out sailing, I no longer want to swim anymore. So that's how I switched from swimming to sailing. And then I think the typical part about joining the sailing team is that I have to be away from my parents, from my family, and traveling with the team to the southern part of China. For example, for the winter training, which is warmer in weather, in temperature. And then during summertime, we have racing. So every year after the racing season, I can go back to see my parents. So that's only once a year opportunity.
Wow. So how long did you spend away from your parents, and how long with your parents as a child?
So before 10, I was with my parents every day. And then since 10, I can only go back once a year for about 1 or 2 weeks with my parents. So considering the fact that I'm the only child of my parents, this is truly hard for them.
I'm sure they must have really understood how important.
I think at the time it's just I feel I like sailing. I want to pursue my dream, and then they just support me 100%. Despite the fact that we miss each other terribly. We at that time we don't have computer or cell phone. We just write emails once a week, and every time remember when I open the envelope, just tears streaming down my face.
Yeah, you were so young.
Yeah, 10 years old.
Wow. So how long did you do this for until?
I started sailing from 10 to probably a few years to 30. Yeah, 20 years.
Wow.
And then sailed various classes, but all single-handed dinghy from Optimist, Europe, and then laser radio.
All right. Okay. So if I read your profile correctly, you never sail for fun. It was always a competitive endeavor, wasn't it?
Um, that's not true
Yeah.
because to start with, I chose sailing because it was fun. But there were years that I feel quite miserable because the regime or the training pattern or system is quite like an army environment, very tough, and I can't see my parents, and then just training every day, 6 days a week, and then rest on Sundays and study in the evening. It just feels a bit boring if all your life is like that, day on and day off.
Right.
But it was not until probably a few years later that I suddenly realized that I already fall in love with sailing, and then that's definitely the career I'd like to pursue.
I see. I see. Wow. So we know you have competed in several countries. Um, tell us, give us some details about, which countries you've sailed on, which events, which categories.
hmm When I sail from optimist class, that's a boat like this. Optimist is a small dinghy
Can we see that up close?
designed for teenagers under the age of 15. So I think this is the most popular boat in the world of all sailing classes.
And
I
I think
remember,
most sailors get started in one of
yeah,
those.
yeah, 19% or 85 or 90%
Yeah.
of Olympic sailors, they started from this boat, Optimist.
Yeah.
And then I sailed from the age of 10 to 15. And then I do the nationals, Asian championships, and the world championships every year. And gradually, I started from winning the nationals, the Asian championships, and the worlds. And on my final year, I almost win all the events.
Yeah.
And then after 15, we can no longer sail the Optimist.
Right.
Then I switched to an adult boat.
Right.
Europe was then the Olympic class for single-handed dinghy women.
Okay.
Originally, I was planning to campaign for Athens
Okay.
Olympics,
Right.
but unfortunately, I had an operation on my leg and I missed trials. And then
Right.
I ended up just recovering and do some study for a whole year before 2004. But then after I fully recovered, I just firmly approaching my next goal, which is the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, my home
Your
country.
hometown, right? Your home country.
Yeah, yeah. But probably some people don't know the sailing event wasn't held in Beijing. It was held in
Hainan.
Qingdao
Oh,
in Shandong province.
I see.
Yeah. And then that was my first Olympics. I just carry on with my second and third, which was in London and Rio. And
Right.
after Rio, originally I was planning to campaign for Tokyo, which will be held next year.
Right.
But unfortunately, I had too many injuries, so that's why I decided to um, switch to my next career, which is as a sports media freelancer.
All right. So this interview is in good timing for this transition.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm in a. It's my dream to promote this sport of sailing and let people know more how to watch sailing, how to pick up sailing, and then hopefully they can enjoy the fun on the water as we do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, one of our last questions it's regarding talking to children about sailing. So we will get there. So my next question is that we know you probably had a lot of events that are very important to you, and we could guess which one is the most important. But maybe you can tell us of all your events, which one was the most emotional for you.
Yeah, without any doubt, that would be the final race, which we call the medal race in 2012 London Olympics. And then I remember before the medal race, I was tied points with another three sailors. And
Yes.
then any of the 4 girls from 4 countries can win a gold medal in the final race.
Wow.
And then
you were very close.
Well, everyone's the
points.
same before the medal
Wow.
race.
Wow.
It all depends on who can sell faster in the final race.
Wow.
And I must admit, I was very nervous. But after 2008 Olympics in Beijing, in the sailing in Qingdao, I acquired more knowledge about how to control myself when I was under pressure, and how to perform myself when I felt nervous. So in London, I just sell my very best, and then grasp the opportunity of winning the first ever gold dinghy Olympic gold in Asia and China.
Wow. So it is not only a moment of pride for you, but also for your country and as a sport, right? Being the first medal,
Yeah,
first Olympic medal for sailing.
I think since 2008, more Chinese people get to know the sport of sailing. They realize that, wow, there can be exciting competition on the water, on the sea as well. Because in the past, very few people know about sailing. And then 4 years later, in 2012, during that period, more marinas were built, more clubs were founded, and then people are no longer just satisfying knowing how to watch sailing, but they want to try out themselves. So that's a really good sign that after my London Olympic gold medal, more Chinese would like to learn how to sail instead of just to watch other people to sail.
Right. And I also think that in many countries, even countries that have a history of sailing, I feel the majority of the population think of sailing as some fun activity that you do on the beach on a sunny day. And not many people know that it is a competitive sport. It is a very competitive sport. And obviously we know, right? But I think, the majority of the population don't know this. And I think it's on people like you and us to introduce our sport to a broader audience.
Yeah, for sailing, like I remember wherever I train, I will always be approached by tourists or local people. Oh, can I try out the sailboat? Can I board your boat, etc. People are very interested just to go for fun.
Right.
And actually, for our sport, we not only have Olympic classes, which we got 10 medals in the Olympic family.
Nice.
And then more importantly, I think for sailors, we also have professional sailing, which is like the America's Cup. I heard it's the oldest sporting trophy in the world. Not one of it is the only one that's got the oldest history.
And it's still being held, right? So it's
at the moment the America's Cup is held in New Zealand, Auckland. And that's for inshore. And if you know how to sail, you can sail around the world. That's offshore. And you can sail for competition or just sail for fun, for leisure, for entertainment with your family or friends. Such a great sport. And we quite often we say that sailing is a lifelong sport. Whatever your age, your gender, your height, your weight, there must be one boat that suits you.
I'm glad you brought that up, because in our sister channel in Spanish, we interviewed this gentleman named Gonzalo, and he just retired from sailing, I believe last year. He's 92 years old.
Wow.
He started sailing, I believe, at 14. He has been sailing Snipes his entire life. All his life. At 92.
Yeah. We have Masters Championship all over the world. Yeah, like for example, my class.
Competitive sailing. He competed obviously, with the older gentlemen, right? But he's competing. So
that's the Masters.
Right, and it gives you an idea, right? When you're speaking to, at least for me, right? When I'm speaking to my family about my son, right? Or if I have the opportunity to speak to someone about their kids and sailing, right? Like you mentioned, this is a sport for anybody, any age, any skill level, any, like you say, any height, any weight. There is a boat for you, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be in the water, there is a boat for you.
Yeah. So if you ask for my suggestion about picking up this sport of sailing, I would say just find the closest sailing club in your area and then give it a try during the weekend, or take a weekend course as a beginner. And then from that onwards, you can gradually choose which boat you would like to sail, whether you want to sail single-handed or double-handed, or sail a big yacht with several other people, and then whether you want to sail inshore, which is launching, sailing, and coming back for sleep and eat. Or if you are an explorer, you have some exploring spirit, you can sail offshore, because there are many places in the world only sailboats can go.
True, it's true. And I know our sister channel was covering the Vendée Globe, where they go around. That was, I mean, I didn't know about this regatta until recently, and it's very exciting. Very, very exciting.
Imagine sailing along around the world, non-stop.
I know.
Yeah.
No, not for me. I want to go back home every day.
Yeah.
But it's very exciting,
One of my dream was to sail around the world.
Really?
But I guess, but just my body is too fragile, because on the boat you have to sleep and eat, and then managing the boat, everything alone.
Right. I imagine they take just quick naps because
Yeah.
Anyway, so I know you mentioned that you had some injuries, but would you tell us about your physical training when you were preparing for the Olympics? Physical training and technical training. How did you prepare?
So our typical training day is, for example, get up at 6, have some morning run exercise, and then have breakfast at 7:30, and sailing from 9 to 1 p.m. and have a little bit rest, and then have another session, whether that's aerobic or strength training in the gym, for another 2 or 3 hours. So every day we will train around 6 to 8 hours, and then just have Sundays off.
Wow. Wow. Okay. What can I say? Wow. Very intensive. Very intensive.
I wouldn't recommend that hard sailing for everybody, but that's just how the Chinese sporting system is.
The Chinese sporting system, right? It's
a
very structured routine, nationwide, program, right? And those who can make it, have a very good chance, right?
Yeah. So from my observation, people in Britain, they wouldn't spend that much time on the water, but they sail better than us. So it's more important that you put quality time instead of quantity. So sail with an aim, a goal, instead of just spending hours on the water, which is futile.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We had an interview a few weeks ago with this friend of ours from Cuba who was a prominent sailor, and now he is a prominent coach in Canada. And he mentioned that kids in these countries, they spend less water time, right? They spend less time in the water than we did in Cuba, right? As sailors, but the quality of the time is better, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the coaching or the boats, or maybe just the focus. I guess we can explore that.
I would suggest to read more books and gain the theory, gain the knowledge, and then combining the practical practice. So when you have the two, your training will be much more efficient and effective, instead of wasting lots of time on the water.
Gotcha. as a sport, what attracted you the most about sailing? You know, that switch, right, that you made from swimming to sailing. What was it?
I think the freedom, because once you are on the water, the feeling you will never find it on shore, on land.
Yeah.
And also the closeness to nature. Very recently, I talked to a sailor from Trinidad and Tobago, and he said he just want to connect with the Mother Nature and then give everything he has to the Mother Nature. Yeah, actually, while sailing, it makes us human beings feel so humble, and we want to protect the environment.
Yes.
So many sailors are unavoidably environment friendly people, and also
That
makes
topic keeps
us
coming up in our interviews. Yes.
yeah. We just want to protect the ocean because it's such a
It's
great
so
place.
beautiful, and it's so much bigger than us.
It's a bit sad and making us feel painful when we see rubbish on the sea, especially those plastics.
Right.
So I would like to ask everyone try to reduce the single-use plastic as much as possible.
Yeah. Listen to her. Yes. Good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
Glad you brought that up. So let me ask you, and I mentioned, earlier, something like this. If you had a chance to speak, and I'm sure you do, right? You had a chance to speak to a 12-year-old boy or girl, right? And they ask you about sailing, what would you tell them?
I would say or suggest them to try out as many different sailing boats or windsurfing classes as possible. And now we have the trend of foiling boats or foiling boards, which is literally foiling above the water, flying above the water. So we have so many hundreds of different boats. Just try as many as you can and then find out which one you like the most. Because I feel a bit sorry for my whole sailing career that I've only sailed a single-handed dinghy. And I know very little about the spinnaker, the windsurfing, not to mention the foiling. So if I was 20 years younger, I would definitely try out those different type of boats, and then you have a wider selection of choice to make.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear. Expose any young mind to the different aspects of sailing, right? Like you mentioned, you never had a chance to fly a spinnaker, right?
Yeah.
Or and I think there is a different kind of skill level, right, and enjoyment that you get from being behind the rudder or from being up front. So
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you as we are approaching the closing of the interview, and thank you for joining us today. And
My pleasure.
ask you, is there anything else you would like to add for our audience to hear, about your career, this next, phase of your, this second act, right, of your career?
Yeah, probably some advertising time. If you are interested in my personal story, I have a English autobiography called Golden Lily. You can purchase it on Amazon or Kindle or ebook, any platform. And then from my book, you can learn a lot more from my past experience, both in sailing and life in China. And also, since now I'm a sports media professional, you're very welcome to follow my journey on any of the social media platform. Just search my Chinese name, Xu Lijia, and then I frequently share my media work, such as podcast, interview, video, and then sailing event broadcasting. I do commentating as well. So yeah, feel free to drop me a message if you have any question, and then I hope I can show you much more about the sailing world.
Can you show us again that little optimist? It's adorable. Look at that. I saw pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, this is a 3D print. I saw that on website, and then yeah, it's made by a Russian couple. So I ordered it during COVID.
Right.
Yeah, and then received very recently. So yeah, I love it.
Beautiful.
It's very.
It's got blades and
unique.
everything, right?
Yeah, I got everything. I surprised it. Even got this.
Right.
I don't know how that's called.
Oh, that little bucket.
Yeah, okay. We like make water out of the boat.
Right. That's adorable. That's adorable.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to link the. I'm going to put the link to your book on the description on the video when we go. When it's posted on YouTube. So anybody who wants to check it out could do so. And, and last question.
Okay.
Who should we interview next?
I would recommend my husband, John Emmett, who's a sailing coach.
Oh, really?
And he coached me for the last 2 Olympic Games in London and Rio. And he's now coaching a Finnish girl, a girl in Finland. And he will accompany her or coach her for the Tokyo Olympics. Wow. But he's a competitive sailor himself. He's going to sail to his 90s. So every year, apart from coaching himself, he's still training and sailing as vigorously as we Olympic sailors are. Right. So yeah, I'm sure he has a lot to share with you as well.
I'm sure you can make the connection since you guys.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah,
and we can have him join us.
Time. Yeah. Maybe you can see him next time.
All right. Well, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining us. And let's wave goodbye. Where's the camera?
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.